Shendu, a 24-year-old retired Sanda athlete, is a two-time provincial championship winner in the women's 65 kg division, capable of delivering a 200-kilogram punch force. She minored in law at university and has a clear grasp of criminal law and public security regulations. Meanwhile, she has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, takes long-term medication regularly at Beijing and psychiatric hospital. Drugs such as sertraline, olanzapine, quetiapine and lithium carbonate keep her emotions stable. If she stops medication, she will suffer insomnia, extreme mood swings between mania and depression, and even hallucinations and suicidal tendencies. Trapped by mental illness, public misunderstanding and emotional trauma all year round, she tries her best to live as a normal person, yet is prone to manic outbursts when facing harassment and victim blaming. One rush hour in Beijing, Shendu took the subway to the psychiatric hospital to refill her prescription. Wearing a floral short dress, a middle-aged pervert secretly filmed up her skirt with a mobile phone, looking complacent and convinced that young girls would dare not resist. Enraged instantly, Shendu, with professionals and the training, punched him hard on the bridge of the nose, causing immediate nasal bone fracture and bleeding. She followed with another blow to his temple, knocking him to the ground. The broken phone still contained massive private voyeur photos of multiple women, proving the man was a long-term repeat offender. Passengers reacted differently. Some screamed in panic while many women praised her for fighting back. Subway staff took Shendu away, and both parties were sent to the subway police station. Police officer Liu, who received her side at the sight of her, saying, "Why are you here again?" A week earlier, Shendu had been groped and harassed by another man on the subway on her way to get medicine. She threw him over her shoulder and dislocated his arm with a reverse joint lock. A case also mediated by Officer Liu at that time, ending only with minor medical compensation and a verbal warning. Liu told the police the whole story of being secretly filmed and asked to check the man's phone as evidence. The man refused to unlock his phone until police enforced an inspection. The album contained numerous privacy photos taken under women's skirts, fully confirming his long-term voyeurism, which violated the Public Security Administration punishment law and deserved detention and fines. Far from showing remorse, the middle-aged man distorted the truth and blamed the victim shamelessly, claiming Shendu's short dress was seductive and that she had brought the filming on herself. This blatant victim blaming completely shattered Shendu's long-suppressed psychological defense line. Past traumas flooded her mind endlessly. People always dismissed her depression and bipolar disorder as mere bad temper. Her ex-boyfriend complained that she used her illness as an excuse. University classmates kept away from her for fear of her manic outbursts. She learned Sanda at the age of 12 only because her father wanted her to defend herself. A teenage self-defense incident was ruled excessive defense, nearly sending her to a juvenile detention center, saved only by her mother's desperate pleading. Years of medication brought side effects including weight gain, memory loss and frequent dizziness. The doctor warned that every relapse of bipolar disorder causes irreversible brain damage. She had tried her utmost to restrain herself and live in peace, yet she still faced unnecessary harassment and malicious slander. Losing emotional control completely, Shendu ignored police attempts to stop her and attacked the man again right inside the police station, smashing his already injured nose and punching him repeatedly to release years of grievance and depression. Two police officers trying to restrain her were easily pushed away. The man suffered reopened wounds, lost teeth, curled up on the ground, crying and screaming, accusing her of attempted murder. Shocked and helpless, Officer Liu told Shendu firmly that assaulting others in front of police was blatant contempt for the law with serious circumstances, warranting at least 10 days of administrative detention. Calming down slightly, Shendu slid down the wall covered in blood. Her bipolar condition left her overwhelmed with grievance yet unable to shed a tear. Her only request was to pick up her medicine first, fearing drug suspension would trigger a severe relapse, just like the time she nearly jumped off an 18th floor building due to stopping medication before. After checking her medical records from Beijing, and in hospital confirming her bipolar diagnosis and long-term prescription, Officer Liu understood the severe consequences of her stopping medication. He made an exceptional arrangement. A young police officer Zhao Zhu escorted her to the hospital in handcuffs to get her medicine first, then returned to the station to complete detention procedures. On the way, Xiao Zhu admired hers and a championship background and legal knowledge. Shendu admitted that though drug side effects had slowed her physical reaction, combat instinct was ingrained. She had planned to pursue postgraduate studies in law, but gave up after a manic outburst destroyed her professor's office. The psychiatric outpatient waiting room was filled with depressed atmosphere, gathering patients with mood disorders trapped in loneliness and mental torment. Her attending Dr. Chen also sighed at her frequent visits, adjusted her medication dosage, increased quetiapine and maintained lithium carbonate, reminding her strictly to control emotions. When Shendu asked whether bipolar patients were inherently prone to losing control, Dr. Chen gave her a profound answer. It is not that patients are born impulsive, but that society provides too few emotional buffers and protection for them. Most ordinary people would also collapse facing the same malice. After retrieving her medicine and returning to the police station, the case went through official procedures. Forensic appraisal ruled the man's combined injuries only minor wounds. Solid evidence confirmed his repeated voyeurism, and police decided to investigate his other victim cases jointly. Shendu fully confessed to assaulting someone inside the police station, clearly knowing her behavior exceeded the boundary of legitimate defense and constituted intentional injury. Officer Liu advised her sincerely to call the police for help instead of resorting to violence when encountering harassment, to avoid irreversible consequences. Shendu responded that if every woman harassed or secretly filmed dared to fight back bravely, the number of perverts in society would drop sharply. She was finally sentenced to 10 days of administrative detention and a fine. In the detention house, the domineering female inmate tried to provoke her. Shendu directly showed her bipolar diagnosis record with a violent tendency, warning that she might hurt others, even herself, during episodes, instantly intimidating others on never being disturbed again. Surprisingly, the 10 days in detention were the most peaceful period in half a year. Regular schedules, meals and medication isolated her from social trivialities, work stress and emotional triggers, allowing her stable sleep without manic or depressive attacks. Her mother visited her through the glass, caring more about whether her dress had exposed her body during the fight and reminding her to always wear safety shorts. Promising to cook ribs for her after release. Seeing her aging mother's trembling figure, Shendu felt deep guilt and resolved to control her temper and not trouble her family again after leaving detention. When her detention ended, Officer Liu picked her up personally and gave her his private phone number, telling her to contact him anytime when her emotions were unstable or she encountered trouble, and never act impulsively alone. Back home, she had a warm meal and fell into deep sleep after taking medicine. Waking up in the early morning, she received a threatening message from the pervert, who gathered a group of people to ambush her at Olympic Forest Park for revenge. Mei Shendu screenshot the message as evidence of picking quarrels and provoking trouble. With legal knowledge, she knew his gathering for a fight constituted a criminal offense, while going alone to defend herself would be deemed legitimate defense. Unwilling to tolerate his voyeurism, insult and revenge, she decided to settle the matter alone to avoid being labeled as a fray by calling others for help. She went to her old and training gym. Coach Xu had watched her grow up and understood her character and strength well. Instead of stopping her, he gave her a high-strength nylon rope, instructing her to control her strength, avoid vital parts, never strike first, only tie up the attacker with a loose knot after subduing them to prevent excessive defense. At the appointed time, Shendu arrived at the south gate of Olympic Forest Park alone in casual sportswear, hiding the rope around her gaff. Soon the middle-aged man arrived with 5 strong thugs armed with baseball bats, arrogantly threatening to cripple her. Facing 6 people with weapons ambushing her, Shandu relied on her solids and a skills and competition experience to dodge the bad attack at close range, dislocate an attacker's joint, trip another and knock a third unconscious in just 30 seconds. The remaining two fled in panic. The thugs relied only on brute force and numbers without professional combat training. No match for a retired elite athlete. No, did not chase the fugitive. She calmly quoted the criminal law to the terrified ringleader, pointing out that organizing an armed group fight was a felony, while her counterattack against multiple armed attackers was completely within the scope of legitimate defense. She tied up the 3 subdued men with loose nylon knots without causing severe injury. Park surveillance recorded the whole process completely. Patrol police arrived soon and worst to see 1 girl subduing 6 men alone. Shendu explained the whole story calmly. The man was a serial subway boy, who retaliated by gathering thugs with weapons, and she acted purely in self-defense. She also reminded the police to investigate his other voyeur crimes jointly. Police confirmed through surveillance that Shendu acted in legal legitimate defense with no legal liability. The middle-aged man and his accomplices were detained on criminal charges of affray, armed provocation and retaliating against a whistleblower. A young police officer admired her combat skills and legal literacy, and Shendu chose not to mention her bipolar disorder to avoid being seen as seeking sympathy. On the subway ride home, Shendu realized she had taken 1 less pill of quetipian without noticing, the insufficient dosage making her more emotional and aggressive during the fight. She reminded herself to follow medical advice strictly and never adjust dosage arbitrarily again. Walking through the autumn streets of Beijing with faint osmanthus fragrance in the cool wind, Shendu reflected on her life trapped by bipolar disorder all year round, misunderstood by social prejudice, frequently in undoubted police stations. Her predicament stemmed not only from her own emotions, but also from society's indifference to women's privacy, safety, lack of tolerance for the mentally ill, and indulgence of perverted evildoers. She accepted her fate peacefully, took medicine on time, lived a disciplined life, kept her bottom line in the ability to protect herself. She understood that many so-called emotional outbursts were never spontaneous, but forced out by endless malice from the world.